Oh, this isn't the recap. No, it's not. This also might be the quickest I've uploaded a video after a patch. Before we do make the recap, though, I just really wanted to pump this out. Just, one as notes for me, but also just so it doesn't take up an absurdly long amount of time when we do the recap in a couple of days, because holy hell, there was a lot here. A lot. I mean, folks, information on whether Akivili is dead or alive. The idea that the Trailblazer is heading towards becoming an Aeon. The fourth path that's pushing the cosmos to its end has been revealed. Elios's plan. Our Stellaron coming from Sheepe personally. The Lord Ravager did not hold back during this Q&A session. Of course, I'm talking about the one part of the quest where Asat Pramad said, you can ask me 8 questions. Any 8 questions. And he reveals a fair bit of interesting stuff, assuming you get him to tell the truth via rolling a critical success, which is completely RNG. I managed to get it on most of the questions just by fucking replaying the quest like 30 times, so let's just start right away. Rolling a critical strike on the Lord Ravager's question, just asking Asat Pramad to speak about the Lord Ravager's weaknesses, reveals some, interesting things. One, he reveals all the Lord Ravager's weaknesses, starting with Phantilia. Her weakness is hosts whose minds she cannot seize. She despises human courage, and her biggest weakness is the sin of gluttony. Zephyro is the perfect warrior. However, Asat says Zephyro either fears or hates those whose lives have been consumed by the nihility, so Asat says Zephyro fears the dark, which is interesting, given Zephyro's theme is, very white-inducing, right? He wears white, his attacks are white, he makes white holes, the fucking Ku Klux Klan would have loved this nigga. Luxbane, or Sun Devourer, Asat Pramad says is just a beast who doesn't understand human language, but as a beast, all he needs to be defeated is just bait. The problem, obviously, is the only thing Luxbane eats are suns, so good luck. Selenova hates beautiful melodies, and without a haze of noise, she grows restless. Archforger is apparently just fucking shy, quiet, and rational. Apparently, he's afraid of showing himself in person. Fucking pussy. Asat Pramad's weakness is also his greatest strength, which is chance. Ask Asat Pramad what the fourth path pushing the universe towards its end is, and upon a critical success, he tells you it's the Trailblaze. Asat says we should be glad Akivili failed, because nobody knows what happens to a universe that has its paths broken. Asat describes such a scenario as nonsensical, unknowable, and incalculable. Every direction is forward. Space goes nowhere, and existence defies logic. He states destruction is a far kinder concept by comparison, because at least it has a clear end. Ask Asat Pramad about our other selves that we saw. He's taken aback at first and wonders if we have the ability of grasping possibilities, but Asat Pramad says even he doesn't know who that is, as the answer to that question is beyond him. A critical success on asking Asat Pramad why he wants to awaken the veracity reveals he wants that fat son bitch to eat everything, and even Aha would be powerless, and they too would be eaten as retribution for Aha stealing Oroboros' taste buds many amber eras ago. Speaking of Aha, rolling a critical success when asking Asat why he wishes to kill Aha resulted in him stating he's already tried to kill Aha, and on the contrary, everything Asat Pramad does is to try and save the Aeon. He states, once long ago, Aha was a dutiful and committed god who regularly interacted with the universe in a meaningful way. However, Nothing resists time, and eventually everything will return to silence, and before returning to silence, the elation will become something far more terrifying. Asat says the Aeon is tired and being swallowed by their own joy. The terrifying thing they will become is dragging all things in the universe to an eternal chaos. Asat tells us when becoming an Aeon, said Aeon will apparently glimpse their own end. However, the results of two paths colliding is beyond the foresight of either all Aeons or just Aha, so it was a bit weird how he worded it within the quest. Asat then wonders how Aha truly feels about exercising their divine power, and wonders if they fear the ending they're headed towards. Asat reasons then the 1 minute that someone gets to become the Aeon of Elation as a result of the Phantom Moon Games must be a reprieve from the shackles of being the Aeon of Elation tied to their path for Aha. So what Asat is trying to do is grant Aha deliverance with the grandest final curtain before they devolve into something terrible, as that's the highest form of reverence Asat can surmise. Speaking of Aeons, roll a critical success when asking Asat Pramad why everyone calls you Akivili, and he says it's because we are becoming the focus of the path of the Trailblaze, as it's currently a masterless path with no god, and although we're not an Aeon yet, we're headed in that direction. But Asat says it also has to do with our Stellaron, but that's another question. So, got a critical success when asking Asat what he knows about the Stellaron in our body. He says our Stellaron is not a normal Stellaron, and that this particular Stellaron was bestowed to us by Shipe, the Aeon of the Harmony themselves, but this Stellaron is branded by the Trailblaze. The Harmony and Trailblaze are diametrically opposed. However, with us, these two forces have achieved an equilibrium within our body because our body was made for this and is hiding a secret. What that secret is, however, Asat says we should ask the Stellaron Hunters. A critical role when asking Asat Pramad what the plans of the Stellaron Hunters are does give us some insight into their plans. Asat says what Elio is chasing is something even Eons would hesitate to touch. The Stellaron Hunters are trying to destroy finality itself. Further clarifying, he says they want to destroy an ending in which all possibilities are frozen in time. He says Elio may have seen an ending beyond even the destruction all the way to the nihility. What the Hunters are actually doing, however, traversing worlds, is searching for a path that will let the universe continually evolve. Now, speaking of Akivili, a critical success when asking if Akivili is alive, Asat says Akivili is dead, but perhaps they are alive in a way they never expected. He goes on to state the fall of an Aeon is simply a change to the form in which they exist, and no one knows if they plan this. According to people who met Akivili, they spoke a lot about Alpha and Omega, the beginning and the end, the tree of existence, and what lies beyond the system of paths. The ultimate thing Akivili wanted to reach was beyond the universe. Asat then says, however, he witnessed the fall of Akivili, and their fall left behind a point of light at the edge of existence. So, it seems like Akivili fell, but could still exist in some form. Now, the rest of the questions are kind of, whatever questions. Ask him about the purpose of the Phantom Moon games, and on a critical success reveals what we already knew, suppress the veracity, otherwise it'll run buck wild. But does also add his own personal take, which is it's a 1 minute break for Aha to stop being the Aeon for, 1 minute. But does also say during that 1 minute, that is when the elation is vulnerable and can be killed. Ask Asat Pramad if he's ever loved, and he says he's had lovers, but, he destroyed all their worlds. Ask him, why he became a Lord Ravager from a navigator, and he just says when traveling around the universe, he saw how fucked up the universe was, so he lost his smile, and Anuk showed him a new way through destruction, so he figured, fuck it, why not, when people see their end is near, they start acting normal, or it was some philosophical shit. Ask him what happened to Yao Guang and Evanescia after the quest, and he says Yao Guang is currently stuck in a maze of possibilities after he brought down the chance of her existing to nearly zero. She's stuck for maybe a short while, maybe a long while, or maybe forever. She's just gonna have to find her way out. Evanescia is just sleeping, but, who knows what version of her will wake up when she eventually wakes up. Ask him how to defeat him, and he says the answer is using the Stellaron within our body, but using it to defeat him will turn us into something terrible. Ask him what his plans are during the Phantom Moon games, and we don't really learn much. The, biggest thing I'd say we learned from this line of questioning is that it wasn't him who manipulated the Phantom Moon into stating the winner of the Phantom Moon game will become the new permanent Aeon of Elation. He says only Aha can do that. So for whatever reason, Aha stepping down from the mantle. Hey, maybe he was right, man. Maybe Aha's just had enough of the bullshit. No more Aeonic life for him. Okay, bye.